Hello everyone. I hope your time away from Beacon and at social distancing is going very well. I know that oftentimes, I'm sure that a lot of you are working very hard on your homework and working very hard on keeping yourself sane inside your house, whether it's playing video games, FaceTiming with your friends, or practicing safe social distancing outside by going on walks alone. If that's what you choose to do and are safe about it, it can be good. But I found a strategy that works for a lot of people when doing these things. It can hype them up, get them kind of distracted, and get their brain going where it might be hard to sleep. So I've developed a strategy. I've discovered a strategy that'll work. It's also an arts and crafts project. You can make a bracelet and to share with your friends, maybe a close friend that you miss from being at school, that you can then give to them to let them know when you return, give to them when you get back to campus to let them know you were thinking of them over break. So not only build that, but or just make something nice for you or a parent to show your appreciation. But not only that, it can help you relax, because the strategy I'm going to show you is very simple, very easy to do, while not necessarily without having to think real hard about it, and being able to do, even I often would do it when I worked at a summer camp. I would often do it but not even think about it and just kind of be just doing my thing while I was watching something else or just focusing, thinking about what's needed. So to start things off, let's go over what materials you'll need. First off, you're just going to need a little square cardboard just like this. This is an old cutout from a fan I got a few weeks ago. Can be anything, could be from that old toaster oven you just purchased, or your last Amazon purchase, or a TV box, anything like that. Just anything, as long as it's corrugated, kind of thick. Doesn't have to be super intense or super thin. Another thing you're gonna need is about 5 or 7 balls of yarn. So that'll form the bracelet itself. Yarn is kind of thick. Any kind of very thin string is really ideal. As I said, I'm using this yarn here. Many different colors. You can use different colors. You can use multiple strands of the same color, even that works too. Finally, you'll need a box cutter, kind of like this. Box cutters are not required. Make sure you use them safely if you do use them, but they can be beneficial for cutting that square cardboard out. Another thing would be beneficial is scissors. So I'm going to give you a second to gather those materials, and so once you're done with that, we can get started on actually making it, eh? Hey, so now that you've gathered all those materials, let's work on actually getting everything set up. The first thing you'll have to do is create the loom. But before we start on that, I want to give you a look. I created one earlier today just to make sure I knew what I was doing, had one to show y'all. Here we go. Here's what it looks like. This is about half an hour's worth of work. It's probably about the size of my thumb, a bit shorter than my thumb, but that just shows you the rate it goes. It can go pretty quickly once you get in the zone, once you get working on it. So let's get started on the first step. The first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take that about 1 foot by 1 foot square. It doesn't really matter. This is actually a bit big. You want to go smaller than that. That also works well. That also can be effective. It can be an effective thing. It's smaller, it does tend to be easier to work with, but just have to be careful about it being flimsy or breaking. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take those scissors or the box cutter. Scissors work better for this one, I think, this part. And just cut it out so that square becomes a circle. Okay, so I'm going to cut. What I'm doing, and all of that. It's going to be a very ugly looking circle, but that's okay. We're not going to judge it on its looks. It's going to be a bit squashed, but that's okay. We don't want to make that circle feel bad. There we go. You have that nice circle there, probably about 10 inches across. It's going to work well. And then finally, the next step, very important. You're going to want to take your box cutter for this, because it's a straight line, so it's easier. If you don't feel comfortable using a box cutter, scissors will also work just fine. Just again, make sure you're being safe. I would not want to see anyone's thumbs being amputated from this. It's very dangerous. It can be dangerous if done properly. So just make sure you get that you're safe, you're being safe. That's what I care about. So I think I said it about 5 times now, maybe 10, I don't know. So that's how much I care about it. So you're gonna wanna make about 8 cuts if you're using 7 strings. If you're not using 7 strings, just make one more cut than the number of strings you have. I do recommend using an odd number of strings though, so just keep that in mind. 5 or more, an odd number, that's what'll work best. But it can be done with even numbered strings, I think, but just odd really works better. And you're gonna make 8 cuts around the side. I'll show you in a little bit. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I miscut this, so we are gonna cut it down a little bit more. You really need to have that circle there even. There we go. Not really even. That's okay. That's okay. We want to have it more even than I had it, but there we go. So we have circle. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cuts so far. So 3 more. We're gonna go 1 right here. That's 6, 7. If I can get that to cut in there without cutting my fingers off, I'd generally appreciate that. There we go. That's 8. So we have 8 cuts in our nice little circle. The next step is going to be this is the most dangerous part probably. So what you're going to need to do is cut a little hole right in the center of that without bending it or anything like that, because that'll damage it. So what I generally do, take your box cutter, be very careful with it. Again, the scissors can be used, but I find box cutters work a bit easier. So we're going to cut a nice little hole, stick it through. Can be square or triangle, doesn't matter, whatever suits your fancy. If you're feeling finicky, you can do that. I did a kind of a weird pentagon. So there we go. If you can see, it looks like a triangle, but I'm gonna make it a bit bigger because the yarn is a bit bigger here. So again, just stick it in there without cutting your your circle in half. That's what works. And there we go. So we now have what's kind of like a loom together. So you see it's a little circle, hole in the center, squish that out maybe. Doesn't really matter what shape it is, it's just that's where the string's gonna go. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 slits in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go, we have 8 slits in there, and then we're on to the next step. So, for your next step, we're gonna go to the strings. So, I'll just hold on there, give you a second, if you're building along with me, give you a second to make it yourself. You can always rewind a little bit, that's fine. So, there we go. Well, I hope you all were safe when you were making that cardboard circle there, that loom, as you could call it. I don't want to see anyone reporting to the hospital with cuts. There's enough worry about the virus. You don't need to cut your finger too. So now that you've made that, now that we have that all made together, right there we go. Next we need to cut out the string. So I'm going to use 7 strings. So what you're going to need to do, just take your string, get it out to about like here. Again, the longer the string, the longer your bracelet could be. I generally recommend doing it between this and a full wingspan if possible, if you want. If you intend to really make a big one, whether it's a necklace or a bracelet, but generally make it longer, so don't just measure your wrist, because in the process you're going to need a lot more string than just to go around your wrist. So, and also having that extra means that you can make it bigger if necessary, or cut it short. You can always cut it shorter. You can't exactly make the pre-cut string that you already have longer. So just always, if you want to make a mistake, if you want to be careful, just always cut more than you think you'll need, because again, it's easier to cut it shorter afterwards. So we're going to take it like that, measure it out, and then give it a cut. I'm not actually going to cut that because I already pre-cut all of our strings so that, and make sure we had it ready, save time. So I have 7 strings here, cut to the appropriate length. We have red, brown, a lot of different mixture of colors. Okay, now, do all of you, let me give you about all a second to cut strings yourselves. So after this, a lot of people when making this describe it kind of like as a jellyfish, because as I showed you before, that final product looks kind of like jellyfish hanging down. So to get that, what you're going to need to do, I cut one of my strings earlier way too long, so that's why I had trouble putting it on there. So what you're gonna need to do is take that string, make sure that they're all about evenly matched up so that line the ends up with each other as best you can. Then I'm gonna come closer so you can see what I'm doing. You're gonna take the end, kind of make a knot, and then pull them through so that they're all together, tightly knotted on one end so that they're all stuck together, okay? Sounds good. So go do that. Go do that. I'll be right here and I'll be setting up that next stage that I talked to you about. So, okay. After that, you all ready? Okay, good to hear. Don't forget you can pause it if I'm going too fast. You can replay, and that's okay. Next, you're going to take it. You're going to stick that knotted end through the hole in the loom. So what you're going to want to do then next, after that knot is through, hold that knot there and take each string and put it into a slot. One of those nifty little cuts we made in the outside of the loom. It doesn't really matter what order they're in, just it will affect your outward pattern, but it's hard to predict it, and I've yet to find one that looks bad. So just do that, go through, make sure that that knot stays in the hole. Now at the end of this, you should have one slot that does not have a string in it. That's completely normal. That's what you should have, because once we get done with this and we go to the next stage, I'll show you exactly what that hole's for. Okay, so we got it in. We're all good to go. Perfect. So it should look like this at this point. And what you're going to do is, at the end, and once you're done with that, once they're all in their little homes, their initial homes, you're going to want to take it from the top here. So you see how there's a wheel, you have an empty space, then you're going to want to count to 3. I have confidence that all of you can do that, so I'm going to leave that on you. I'm going to trust you. You're going to count to 3, okay? You're going to go 1, 2, 3. It doesn't really matter what the order is, whether you can go 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. Doesn't really matter. Just be consistent. So each time you do the same direction. So if you start going 1, 2, 3 this way, just make sure you're always going to the same direction, okay? So you go 1, 2, 3, grab that one there, that blue one, and move it to that empty space. Okay, now you see we have another empty space right there. Gotta fill that up. So again, remember the same counterclockwise direction. Go 1, 2, 3. It's that yellow one this time. So that yellow one, gotta pull that out. It's a bit thicker than I usually use, so it's not working as well. The thinner yarn is better, or thinner string is better. So now that we've done that, then we're gonna go back through the empty spaces there this time. So 1, 2, 3. There we go. There we go. And so as I said before, this is something that you can do over a long period of time. It's not something that's gonna get done in a day. I find it can be easy that once you get in that habit, and also, I forgot to mention before, pardon me, mine's all over the place, I guess. I should probably find it. Make sure you pull down this. You always want to make sure that knot is coming down, to kind of pull that through that so that these strings up here are pretty tight. You don't want it to kind of pop out like that. That's more of an issue in the early stages. I get down here so you can actually see my face. It's more of an issue with the early stages rather than the later stages, but just keep working on that, and eventually you'll have a nice bracelet at the end of that. Now to finish it, unfortunately, it does take a while. It's going to take multiple days to get it done. I recommend just keep working on it a little bit, kind of as a stress relief, kind of like a stress ball, but also it has something you can build, that bracelet that you can give to your parents again, you can give it to your friends, you can give it to your favorite staff member, anyone, just something to show that you were thinking about them on there while you were away from campus or away just during your self-quarantine, social isolation, that type of thing. So at the end, you can just do your best to tie it off at the end. So when it's the length you want it to be, cut it so it's a bit shorter, and first tie a knot that's right, either connecting to the original knots, those original tails at the bottom here. I'm not going to show it necessarily how to do it because I don't have one made yet. But if you have any questions, and so tie the new tail, tie a knot at the end, tie the other end of these all together once it's the length you want. Make sure that knot there is as close as possible to the actual like weaved part here, the woven part. So like kind of like how this knot is right at the tip, try to do your best to get it as close there as you can. Then simply use these tails to tie a knot between the tails on this end and the tails on the other end. So to kind of make that bracelet, or it can just be its keychain if you want, or anything like that. But anyway, that's all we have today. If you have any questions or you're having kind of trouble with it, just feel free to reach out to me. I find it can be kind of effective, as I said, as a stress reliever, kind of like a stress ball, just a fidget toy kind of, as well as that creative aspect of it, which I think is really neat. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at my school email. You should know what it is, or reach out to me on here, on YouTube, or reach out to me over Facebook, or anything like that. Just reach out if you have questions. If you're having trouble, I'm happy to walk through any issues with you. Again, I really hope your social isolation continues to go well and is successful, and I look forward to seeing the progress you've made on these. So thank you, and I hope you're having a great day.